Hey guys, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to be ranking every episode of WandaVision. I'll be using some of my ratings from my WandaVision reviews, but now that the whole show is out, I'm going to change up a few ratings now that this is in hindsight, because originally I feel like I saw a few episodes and I rated them a lot higher than they should have been, so now I've kind of lowered some and raised some too, and I put them in a list of my least favorite to my favorite episodes in the whole show. So hopefully y'all enjoy this video and let's get into it. But anyway, starting off in 9th place, I have episode 8. Because it wasn't a bad episode. I just want to make this clear at the start of this video. I didn't hate any of these episodes, but these are just the ones I liked less than the others. So this is episode 8 because it was nice seeing the emotional journey Wanda's been through and how bad her life has been. But I feel like this episode wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for something different, maybe more of a build-up to the finale. I would have preferred this episode to have been split through others as flashbacks, so maybe there could have been different flashback sequences, and that would have changed up the show, but this was a decent way to go through with Agatha and Wanda, but I just feel like it could have been different, and it would have changed the structure of the show, but I think it would have made it better. And I mean, sure, there's always this stuff. Like, it's unfair to me to say this because it's not like we can all get what we want. I just see a lot of missed potential in this episode, even though what we ended up doing wasn't bad. Coming up in 8th place, I have episode 6. This episode was pretty good. Quicksilver was a great addition to a sitcom world, and I like the Halloween theme of this and how it caused things to be pretty dark around Westview, really. This being a Halloween theme was the perfect excuse for writers to have Vision discover all the evil of what Wanda's doing. Although my only complaint with this one was the sword director kicking out Monica and her friends. It seemed just kind of like plot convenience. I thought there was a lot of plot convenience in this episode that made it not as good as it could have been. That's definitely a trend with the episodes I liked less. They were good, but they weren't as good as they could have been. Coming up in 7th place, I have episode 1. I just love the retro feeling of this episode. It was filmed in front of an actual live audience, which was really cool. I can tell so much passion went into this episode, and really this whole show, because I watched the documentary behind the making of WandaVision, and now I feel kind of bad criticizing the show, because I can tell a lot of hard work and a lot of passion went into this, and it was really cool having this live audience, but this episode just wasn't as great as some of the others. Still, I thought it was really good, and when Vision's boss trips on the food, it was a great tone setter for the rest of the series, because, overall this sitcom is really happy, but then there's always those little moments in episodes where things aren't happy and get kind of dark and scary, and this was the first episode to ever do this. It was the first episode, so like I said, it just set the tone for how things are going to be, and I think it set it really well. Coming up in 6th place, I have episode 2. Okay, so this was an episode that in my original review, I think I ranked it way too high. I just made the script after watching the episode. Normally I let things kind of sit and think about things for a while, but this script I made immediately afterwards, and I think I had a little bit of recency bias for it. In hindsight, this episode wasn't as good as I had originally said, but it was still great. It wasn't a bad episode, it just wasn't as good as some of the others, and I think I overrated it. The talent show was really funny. The beekeeper climbing out of a sewer at the end was perfectly disturbing, and Wanda getting pregnant was a great twist, but like I've said so many times, it wasn't as good as other episodes. Now coming up in 5th place, I have episode 5. I thought this episode did a good yet annoying job of subverting expectations, because we were all expecting Pietro to come back, and he kinda did here, but not in ways we were expecting. This episode was really sad, too, but in a good way. We get some hints at Wanda's trauma, and we find out more in later episodes, but this was a nice tease for all that. I also like the mixture of sword and the sitcom world in this, because in episode 4, I was complaining about how it was just sword, and I missed the sitcom world, so this was a nice twist that they ended up doing later on in the show, for the rest of the show, really, where they have a little bit of a sword stuff, and a little bit of a sitcom, and I thought that was great. Now coming up in 4th place, I have episode 3. Things are finally in color here, which was just so awesome. The first 2 black and white episodes are great and all, but they were weird to get used to. The 70s theme was fun, and I thought all the fashion was really funny, and Wanda giving birth here was really important to his story, and it was also just hilarious. This episode really set up a lot of things for later on in the show, and I think they did a great job doing it. Now in third place, I have episode 4. Even though I said earlier in this video, a minute ago, that I didn't like how it's just Sword, it was nice seeing what Sword was up to. This episode does a great job planting seeds for later on in the series. I liked seeing what Sword was up to, and I did miss what was going on with Wanda and Vision in the Westview world, but it was nice seeing a little bit of what happened after Thanos snap, and people coming back, and all of that, because I think that is something that the MCU really needs to touch on more, because this is just like such a traumatic event to so many people, and we see that a little bit with Monica losing her mom, because that was just such a nice, shocking opener, and it was sad, but it was a great introduction to Monica. Now coming up in second place, I have episode 7. I love the Agatha Harkness twist, even though I saw it coming from a mile away. It was awesome. The song for Agatha was great too, and it was just such a great introduction to a villain when she killed Sparky, because that was really sad, and like, you can't mess with a dog. That makes you evil. So I really thought that was a good introduction. This is the last sitcom episode in WandaVision, and I missed that later on, but since this was a sitcom episode, I liked it a lot more than the full-on MCU action. Now, in first place, I have episode 9. I thought this was a nice ending to a show. It wasn't perfect, and I didn't like how this was such a new idea for a show. It's been a sitcom, this weird, almost revolutionary show. That's what everyone's described it as, all the directors and stuff. I didn't like how it ended just as the normal MCU basic CGI battle. Besides that, though, I thought most things were wrapped up nicely. Most of the stuff that was introduced in this show kinda got wrapped up here. I'm sure, like, Wanda's kids are coming back and White Vision will be here, but I thought a lot of the stuff with Westview kinda concluded in a nice way, and I thought it was a good finale. I just hated, though, at the very end, how Monica tells Wanda that the people of Westview will never know what she did for them, because, like, it's her fault for them being there in the first place. Why should they thank her? It's like, oh, you gave me $5 after you stole $5 from me? Thanks, I guess, but, like, it's really not that good of Wanda. Like, I guess she did the right thing, but she did the bad thing in the first place, but that's kind of besides the point. I thought it was a nice finale, and it was a good ending, and in my opinion, it was the best episode of WandaVision, because even though this episode itself had a lot of flaws, every other episode built up to it. And every other episode just had this kind of slight inclination of there being something off until here we finally see how it gets fixed, and there's the Agatha and Wanda duel. Even though it's basic, I like it, and I just thought it was a good payoff to all the stuff that has been building up for the whole show. Well, anyways, that's it for my rankings. As a whole series, I thought WandaVision was really good. I wish it had ended a little differently, but it is what it is. It's a great show, in my opinion. I rate WandaVision as a whole a 9 out of 10. I actually added together my rankings for all the episodes and then made the average of them, so that's why it's a 9 out of 10, but I agree with that, I think. There were a lot of flaws to this, but there was a nice build-up, there was a really good ending, even though it was kind of basic. I thought it was still really good. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all like this different kind of video. Please tell me if you'd like to see this video more later on, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because it would really mean a lot. Make sure to tell me if there are any movies or shows you'd like to see me review next, and I will see you in the next video.